Good morning, everyone. Let's try again. The Wi-Fi wasn't doing very well, so we'll see if it's working right now. Hope you guys are all doing well this morning. Hello, everyone. I'm just waiting for Louisa to get back in here because the internet wasn't doing very well. So let's give it another shot. Curious if she's already here. No. 1 second. So today we will be talking about balancing the hormones. I have Louisa, my coach, on the live chat today. She's amazing. She's the founder of the Core, and she's helping me with all sort of things. So she will be helping. We will be talking today about balancing the hormones. So I'm very excited. It's such an interesting topic. Well, let's hope she's here very soon. I'm waiting for her. So if you guys have any questions about balancing the hormones or anything related to health, you can all ask them and we will go through some questions. So let me know. Well, maybe she's here right now. Yes, she's here. Yay, finally. Is this better?
Yeah, I decided to go sit somewhere else. Technology.
I know, we're so independent.
What can we do? What can we
I
do?
know.
Completely dependent.
I'm so jealous of you being in Spain with your family.
I know, yeah. It's good to be here. Yeah, happy to be here for a bit. It's really, really, really nice weather. You can imagine. You can see my face, but
yeah,
yeah,
you're
it's
so
really
tan.
good.
So just to
Yeah,
make
it's
you,
just oil. Just oil.
just to make you feel better, it's raining over here in New York. So
Oh,
just
is it?
yeah, it's shitty weather, like
Oh,
showers of rain, but it's
you
okay.
still look shiny.
Well, that's the makeup. But I smile.
Also does the trick. Also does the trick.
Of course,
Very
of
much so.
course.
How
So,
have you been?
good, actually. I was like our last chat about, especially the part talking about setting intentions instead of goals, kept me
Mm,
thinking literally all week. I think it's such an interesting subject, and I think it can change your whole mindset. So I
yes,
think
I
doing great for
definitely
the
can.
rest. Like work is like I've just been very, very busy. How have you been? How is everything in Spain?
Good. I get to do my consultations still through the phone because work
Yeah,
mostly online, so that's
good.
not a big problem.
Yeah,
And it's just lovely to be out here, family, always good,
so good.
always lovely. Yeah.
So
But
good.
tell me about the intention. What was the thing? I mean, before we get into the hormones, I mean, I'm
Yeah,
curious to hear.
I actually kind of wanted to call you these days, but I like you were in Spain, so I thought let's do it when I talk to you anyway on the live. So the thing
Yeah.
is that I have really hard times with changing my goals into intentions. For example, what would be the intention? Like I know, like eating healthy for me changes my whole mood. Like when I live healthy, I'm just a completely different person. I just have a hard time with finding the literally intention of that goal. Do you
You're
hear
gonna have to
me?
repeat this to me. You're gonna have to repeat this to me.
Oh, sorry. Don't worry. Don't worry. So I have really a hard time changing the goal with like living healthy into an intention.
Yes. And that's because you're trying to set a goal, right? Because
Yeah.
what would the feeling be you would get? What would the feeling
I
you would
feel
have if you'd feel good?
I'm
Or at
just a
least
different
if you would
person,
be eating
literally.
healthy. Yeah. So then how do
Yeah.
you feel?
So I'm just happy and like literally for like 90 degrees different person. I'm so happy and I have zero pain and like when I eat whatever when I will eat like whatever, like just crap, I just feel so shit and my tummy hurts so badly. So whenever I change
Hmm.
that, so I kind of like, what is my intention about eating healthy? Like, and then I say to myself, well, the intention is that I will feel better and I will get more energy. But I kind of, that's not I don't know, like that's
It
not
doesn't do
really,
the trick for you, right?
it doesn't do the trick.
No. Okay, so let me ask you this. What's the best feeling describe to me a moment that you felt on top of this world, that you feel better than ever before?
Well, that was like last week when I like no, maybe the beginning of the week when I was working out every day. I eat. I was more conscious of what I put in my mouth.
What did you
And
feel? What did you feel?
like light. I felt like light, as in
Okay, that's a feeling. A feeling
yeah,
of lightness, right? Feeling
yeah.
light. What else?
I had a lot of energy. Like I had just a lot of
Okay.
energy.
So you
I
feel vital, okay?
Yeah, I felt vital. I was super happy. Um, and I remember that like I was just like on a different kind of I don't know how to explain it, on a different mood. I'm just like in this bubbly, happy like mindset.
Okay. So then the question is not necessarily, okay, then what's the goal? The goal is, to feel happy. The goal is to, feel the energy. We all, I think, get that, right?
Hmm.
It's more of an undercurrent. So when you look at the difference between goals and intentions, it's the goals that you set, it's the workouts, it's the healthy eating. We know how to do that. I mean, nobody
Yeah,
has to tell you that you have to eat healthy and then you'll feel good. It's pretty much a sequence of events. The question really is, all right, so then how do you want to feel? You say, okay, I want to feel happy, I want to feel energetic. We're like, yeah, every freaking person wants to feel happy and energetic.
yeah,
There's nothing new to that. But then we got to say, okay, so what is it exactly that I love about the moment that I feel like that? Because there's a moment that you realize, that you become aware, where you're like,
yeah,
oh, yeah, I'm walking in the street, and all
yeah,
of a sudden I'm like, vam, vam,
yeah,
And that's the energy. So you want to go with a moment that you can see, you can visualize, where you go, okay, I may have had that moment where I walk into the office and I go, boom, world's
yeah,
mine. Or the moment that you feel literally on top of the world. That is exactly that moment that you got to envision, because nobody's going to get out of their bed for the reason of, I want to feel happy,
yeah,
because you need vision with it, right? So if you see the vision, if you can feel it in your body and you go, I remember that moment, that's what's going to get me going. Because, like I said before, right, the only reason we change is through pain and pleasure, right? If you have pain, you're probably gonna want to go on a diet for 2 weeks because your pants are too tight, and that's the only reason why you're gonna stop eating crap. But if you don't have a very good forward pace, that's the same reason we stay in relationships too long, because we think the only thing that sucks more than being in a shit relationship is in being in no relationship at all, right? Because we don't have a good future that we see for ourselves. So here's the difference. If you don't like the pain you're in, get a better pleasure point. You got to see in the future what it is that you're after. And that's what's going to keep you going. The pain point of not getting your pants closed or having a fight with your boyfriend is going to last for 2 weeks. And then you're like, screw this. I don't
mm,
have to work out,
yeah.
or I don't want to do it anymore.
The,
And then
yeah.
you're going to think, yeah, tell me.
Because the problem, like, it's nothing to do with my husband, but also nothing to do with my pants even side. Like, it's I don't know what it is. It's just like I can't like the only tension is myself, like how I see myself walking, and I'm
Mhm.
more of a confident. I don't know. I feel more confidence, I guess. I don't know.
Exactly.
I
And
think it's confidence
yeah,
in the
that's
end
the feeling as well. It's confidence. And I
and
think it's very
control.
much,
I think control is also a good word for me, like having the power and the control to. Because normally I'm like, whatever, I am a lively person, I will do whatever. But I think like once I can control myself and like my habits, I can have the power to like control that. I feel so much stronger. That's maybe stronger is
mm,
also because I work out to
that's a
become
good feeling.
stronger. Yeah. But what is the intention? Like,
Exactly.
what is the literally intention of like I think like I was talking with my friend the other day. I said, "What is the intention of living healthy?" And we literally couldn't find. I don't know.
So then the question is again, how do you want to feel? and what's the moment. So intent means nothing else than what it is that you intend for yourself, what you want for yourself. And it has a lot to do with what you think you deserve, right? Because when you're going to feed
That
yourself
was,
crap, and when you're going to feed yourself crap, and when you're going to think crap, it's all the same, right? If
yeah,
we all know that we shouldn't eat rotten tomatoes, but we have a
yeah,
lot of rotten thoughts. It's the same thing, you know.
yeah,
We get it. We see like rotten tomato, and we go, oh no, 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 don't eat that, because
yeah,
it's crap, and it's not
yeah,
good for you. And then on the other hand, we do eat rotten thoughts. We go, you're not good enough. You can't do this. Who do you think you are? Why do you even have a job? Everybody's going to find out one day that you're absolute crap. One day they're going to find out that you're completely incapable, blah, 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 the jam, right?
yeah,
But
yeah,
that's the rotten thing as well. So, question again being, what is the moment of the feeling where everything comes together? You know it in your mind. I know you know it. And
yeah,
everybody who's listening knows it too. There is a particular moment that you are after, a feeling that you're after that comes together at a certain point. And it can be when you're walking in the streets, it can be when you're, you know, doing whatever it is that you feel like doing, for whatever you are, when you're in the kitchen and you're kissing your husband hello. It's that moment where you go, I want to give love, I want to share, I want to be more, I want to be great,
yeah,
I want to feel, um,
yeah.
I want
I
to
get it.
expand.
But Louisa,
That's the,
sorry
yes,
to interrupt, but why
tell
do
me.
we as
No, please.
humans, why do we as humans celebrate, like, for example, with everything with crap? Like, whenever I get it, like, I get myself a deal or whatever, I like, oh yeah, let's buy some candy, let's buy some, look, most of the time candy, of course, but like, let's buy some this, let's buy some that, and then eventually I will feel shit in the end of the day.
Great question. The
Yeah,
reason very much can be attributed to two things. So first off, if you look at how we've been raised, right? When children go, oh, you did something great, you're gonna get a cookie.
yeah,
Or, oh, you did, shall we go get ice cream? I mean,
yeah,
nobody says, shall we go get an apple? I mean, that could be amazing if that would happen one day, but we celebrate with sweets, right? Sweets also being the sweetness of things, right? The sweetness
yeah,
of life, the sweetness with what we celebrate. And also, when you are having a birthday, you get a birthday cake, right? You don't get a
yeah.
birthday sandwich. Nobody ever gave you a birthday sandwich. So, you get a cake. So celebration is being linked to sweetness, which again is also got to do with the sweetness of life. So it makes a lot of sense. And then on the other hand, why we crave these things sometimes is because culturally we have started to adapt a feeling or an idea. And it is a bit true that sweets are bad for you, right? That you shouldn't eat sweets, that that's
Yeah,
not good for you. So then we put ourselves in this position where we're not allowed. Now, if you tell your body that you're not allowed, you cannot have, what does it want?
everything.
Exactly that.
Yeah, yeah,
It's the same moment when you go shopping without money, you want everything. And the moment you go shopping with a lot of money, you want absolutely nothing.
that makes sense.
So this has to do with a cultural thing. And that's also why it's important to give yourself the permission. Because we're being so extremely strict, right? We go on these, whatever people do, we go on these
I'm the
diets and
I'm the opposite. I'm like, whatever, not strict. I try, but then I'm like, whatever. Why I'm doing this for? Like, I live only once. Like my friend always say, there's this phrase in
oh yeah, that's
Dutch.
interesting.
There's this phrase in Dutch that says, beter te dik in de, wat is het? Geen feestje gemist, naar iets met in de kist. Je weet wat ik bedoel. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that has to do with that you're fat when you're in your
Yeah,
when you're fat when you're dead. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, if that is what you
Not that
live
I'm
by,
bad, but yeah. No, 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 no. It's a
that's
bad thing. It's a bad thing. But yeah, so that's good. I will like definitely keep that in mind with my intentions.
the
I
intention
will
has to
try
do
to
with the
imagine.
feeling
Yeah,
and imagine. That's very
yeah,
much the only thing. Go after the vision that you have for your ultimate self, for your body, for your mind, the way you want to think, the way you want to live,
yeah,
the way you want to eat, the way you want to freaking breathe, and the way you want to have your relationships. But
yeah.
the
It makes sense.
relationship, right? We have a relationship with everything. We have a relationship with our phone. We have a relationship with our parents. We have a relationship with our husband or our spouse or a partner or friends. We even have a relationship with the freaking sun and a relationship with the trees because we relate to it. That's what we do as
Yeah.
humans. So what's your relationship to food? Right?
Yeah.
That's the question. What's your relationship to food? And to say, okay, my relationship with food is really good. To just start changing the narrative, start changing the story, right? The story that you're telling me of the I don't care is not true because you do care.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I do care, but then also like I don't know, maybe a treat. It's like I don't want to like live out. It's not about my body image or anything. It's just more about when I eat crap, I just I'm in so much pain.
That's
That's
it.
that's the feeling that I have to
Yeah.
get rid of. Which is
Well,
my
that
stomach
you
is so super sensitive for
want,
those
that
reasons.
you, yeah. And it's also something at a certain point that you got to make a decision.
Yeah,
Eventually everything we do in life is decision making, right? We choose, do I like this, yes or no? Do I want the vegetable pasta, the pasta or the vegetables? Do I want the fish or the this? But also, what am I going to choose to think?
yeah,
Right? Am I going to choose to think shit about myself? Am I going to choose to think nice things about myself? What am I going to think about this particular situation?
yeah,
Right? We choose all the time. We make decisions, and that's where our freedom lies.
yeah,
Because people
yeah.
go, I want to be free. No, you're free in your decisions to think what it is you want to think. Nobody tells you think this. Nobody tells you
That's so
eat
true.
this. That's where we get to make, that's what we have control over. Nothing else. Seriously, nothing else. Like, I mean, take the back seat, enjoy the
Yeah.
ride, relax. Nothing is under control.
I think you said that beautifully. Having the freedom in your decisions. That's definitely true. You are,
Yeah.
yeah, that's good. So, if we go back to
And you can
hormones,
and you can decide now.
yeah,
Hormones.
yeah,
Absolutely.
I've read,
Because
yeah.
how's that for you? Tell me.
Yeah, I have actually no zero problems with hormone. Like, not really. Like, of course, when you come closer to your period, of course, you have more, like, I have crazy cravings and so on. But I read
Mm-hmm.
this book called Woman's Code, and it's very
Mm-hmm.
much about how organic food impacted our like female hormone system so much. So since I read that book, I became much more conscious of like what kind of like veggies or fruits I eat. So I do much more like I try to only do organic or like from like small farmers or anything. But sometimes, for example, if you go to Sweet Green or like a big chain, it's hard to get it. But I like those kind of things I do, but it's hard to get a balanced hormone system. I read in the book
Absolutely.
that
And I think, yeah,
I read in the book
tell me.
that you go through like as a female woman, like as a woman, you go to 4 weeks. So like the winter, spring, summer, and autumn, and that has all to do with like how your period system is like built, and like for each week. And for example, in your winter period, in your winter time, your winter season week, you need to be very kind to yourself. You need like kind of this kind of more veggies or more this or more like protein or like, I don't know. It's such an interesting book, and it opened like my eyes a lot about how our hormone system works. Um,
Mm-hmm.
how do you experience hormones? What kind of questions do you mostly get about hormone system?
I get most questions around, well, I mean, there are different stages, right? I mean, there's the stage where you are getting your period as a girl,
Yeah,
and then there's the stage where you're fertile, so you're a young woman and you want to eventually reproduce. And then there's the next stage where you're getting into menopause, and menopause obviously being, turning into the wise woman. And that is really beautiful to just also honor these cycles. And I think it's so interesting to talk about hormones because really what I saw, especially when I was back at Harvard, that we do simply most of the drugs that we take are not being tested on women. This is for most reason because our hormones fuck up the data. And
okay.
the problem being that we really are very much under the influence of our hormones. We really are. And what the point is that in pharma, especially, there are great things about pharma, and there are also lesser things. I mean, I used to work for pharma. I know how that world also works. And there is something going on there, and that is that often at times women are being treated like small men but we're not small men, right? We have got boobs. We've got a whole different organ called the uterus. We have hormones that are completely different from men. And oftentimes we get drugs prescribed that are actually made for men and not that necessarily good for women. But there's a whole world out there that's around gender research, and it's a very important point. But what I see most is PMS, so premenstrual syndrome. That basically being the, the bloating and the way that we, what can we do? There's digestive issues, there's the breast tenderness, mood swings, irritability, right? You really either want to chop the head off of the person next to you or your husband, or you want to just bury yourself in a cave.
Oh, I lost you. I lost you, Louisa.
Am I back?
Yeah.
Are you back?
Yeah, now you're back. Yay!
And we're back.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So these issues that women have around, the period before they get their period. Again, right? Being the breast tenderness, being some of them, being super depressed sometimes. And this is so common. I think it's also very important to discuss that it's a very normal thing, that it's also normal to have of the mood swings as such. Because when you talk about all the seasons, right, I can explain that easily to you. It's very nice.
Yeah, I wanted to, yeah,
I'll explain to you. So look at this little picture that I've got here. So what happens is here, this is the start, right? This is where you have a menstruation. So that means that if you look at this little line here, this is the uterine lining. That's obviously what happens in your uterus. It's called the endometrium. It is actually the slijmvlies. Jesus Christ, the word in English. For a second. Oh no. Anyway, it's the lining. Just call it the lining. Just think for a second of your uterus, right? Your uterus being more like this shape. That the inside is getting a new lining. Why does it get a new lining? Because it's getting ready to have a baby there. It's making a little nest. So that's what it's building up. So that's what you can see here. You can see here that the uterus starts to build this up. And then what happens is then when you are not going to be having a baby, then the uterus goes, we're not going to have a baby. So we might as well sweep out all that we just built, right? Get rid of the nest. That's your period. Now, when we talk about different seasons, you can think of your season that is your menses, right? Your menstruation, that is winter time. Now, how do we know that that's winter time? Because your intuition is actually super high when you're menstruating. You want to just go inward, right? You don't necessarily want to go anywhere. I mean, fuck, you're bleeding, right? That's not your to go to mood. You really want to just relax and do nothing. And this is the time when women used to gather, right? Where you used to be super inward. And also what I really believe is that when women have painful periods, it's almost like the body is giving you a report card. Like it's saying, so interesting, what has happened for the past month? How have you been behaving? How have you been eating? How have you been sleeping? How have you been running around? Often at times it's because we've been on the go that the body says, oh, I'm exploding, right? That by the end of the month you're like, So then that's a report card. Your body tells you exactly how you've been behaving that month based on your menstruation. Sometimes when you've been super creative and on the go, you'll see that your menstruation is lighter. Literally, you'll have lighter blood, you'll have maybe less days. And when you've been heavy, when things have been rough, when you've been really going through the grind, or you've been doing emotional work whatsoever, and you've been maybe a bit more stuck and you've not been able to move so much, then you can see that your menstruation also is darker. You should just have a look at it. It's really interesting because it tells you everything.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Now, then what happens is that all of a sudden, who do you know what that moment when you're like, first you think, whatever, life is just, um, painful. We'll answer that question in a bit. Life's just too shit and let it go. I just want to eat chocolate and do nothing. And the moment you get your period, it's like the whole veil lifts. So you're like, la, and
Yeah,
there's life, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
why is that? It's because estrogen sets in. You can see that here. From this moment when you're losing the lining, so you get your
yeah.
less of your menstrual, you have your period, the estrogen starts to rise. Now, estrogen is our sort of like happy hormone, because with estrogen we feel good, we feel feminine, we feel nice. It's a female hormone, right? So that estrogen starts to build and we feel like, that's such a relief, even right when you get your period. And this is a bit like spring when things are opening up again, right? And you're like, oh, things are way better, but you're still a bit emotional. You're still a bit wobbly because you're still in your period, but you're already feeling better. And then what happens is the third phase, when this is like freaking summer comes, because then you're going to build up again and you're going towards your ovulation. And that means that your estrogen is at its peak. So this is the time when you get an extra boost even of testosterone. And that means that you're going to feel on top of the world, right? That's about week 2.
Because so
That's
when you're
after
pregnant,
you've
you
had
have
your period.
so when you're
Yeah,
pregnant, you have
that's
that
then.
feeling forever. Okay,
No,
okay,
no, because then sometimes, but no, because the estrogen goes down
okay.
and progestation, so for
Yeah,
pregnancy, that's the hormone that keeps the pregnancy going. So it's not the estrogen.
okay, okay,
The
okay. So
estrogen just
sorry.
makes you feel amazing after 2 weeks, right? You've got your period starts, you've had 1 week of period, and then there's another week, and then during that second week, all of a sudden you feel more energy, you're like, you
Yeah,
get more clarity. This is the time where you say you want to go on a date or say you want to go for a new job interview. This is the time to do it, because you'll be able to be way more articulate. And funny enough, your hormones even dictate how you smell. So it's almost as if men can smell that you're ovulating. um,
interesting. Like
and
dogs.
that's always during this time. Yeah, oh yeah, hell yeah, like dogs. And this is the
Yeah,
time where you go, all right, maybe I should start a new diet. Maybe I should, go out and
yeah,
start new things. Yeah, because I
yeah.
mean,
I have.
after that,
Yeah. I'm in
yeah.
that week forever. Every week, let's start a new diet. Let's do this. Let's do that. This impulsive, crazy kid. Flores is like, oh, yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
but
and
that's
that's the beauty
interesting.
of
So
it,
that's
because
the
then you,
second week.
yeah, that's the second week, exactly. So when you're in that second week, you should start doing new things if that's really what you want to do. And also, like I said, plan the date, plan the interview. All right. I mean, those are the times where you really want, you're at your freaking best, basically. It's summertime, you're out there, and it makes sense, right? Because you're like,
Yeah.
I wanna be able to reproduce, because you have to
Yeah.
be in your best, because then you're going to be, very much from the old days, you're going to be attractive for men, and it's just going to be all love. Beautiful. So that's here. Then you've been here. Then you're in your second week, right? Now,
Yeah.
what happens then is that all the hormones have been peaking, right? They have been peaking. And then after that peak, the body goes, bye bye. I'm not
Yeah.
doing this anymore. I've had the complete peak of all the hormones. I've given it you my all, and then you collapse.
That's
So
the
this is
third
what we
week.
often see. That's the third week.
Oh,
So
yeah.
some women, it's gradual, right? You go like
Yeah.
a little bit down, and then by the fourth week, you're like, whatever, just,
Yeah.
I'm not doing this anymore. And but the third week already, you're collapsing a little bit, collapsing. This is going to be less, you're going to want to have less sex. You're also, and what's really funny? It's almost as if the body goes, this man didn't give me a child. you know? So you're starting to question your relationship. You're starting to just, be a freaking bitch towards the man. No reason at all. You're becoming, a terrible person every now and then. No, I'm not saying we all do this, right? But it's funny because oh, these are empty. Well, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good. Then I had them in for nothing. Beautiful. And so what's really cool here is that we really have to start understanding that this is how it happens, right? We're just out of those hormones, and we're just having more of a sliding scale towards eventually getting your period. And when we start to really appreciate this, that this is happening in the body, we can also act on it, knowing that when we are in our third or fourth week, we also have to be very mindful of our body, thinking, okay, right now it may need different things, because it's just not the same as it was in the first 2 weeks, right? Because you're like going up or up, and it's going down. It's different. So what's really nice to know is that, this is also a time where you want to know how to take care of yourself. You want to be able to push yourself. And there are quite so many things you can do, really, before you start the craving and the binging, which is also perfectly fine, because you got to listen to your body. And when we have these cravings, when we have these, these chocolate cravings, it makes sense, because especially chocolate has a lot of serotonin in it. And that's like one of our happy hormones as well. So body goes, oh yeah, serotonin, I want that. And there's a lot of serotonin in chocolate. So body goes, yeah, I want that. But you also want to give it the actual nutrients that it needs. So you want to really supplement it in a way as well that's really good for your body. And there's quite a couple of things that you can do. Quite a couple of things.
So bone broth is also really good for her. Like you told me, right? Bone broth.
Bone broth is really good for your collagen. It's very good for your gut. Absolutely.
For your gut.
Yeah, for your gut. So when you look at, if you really are suffering from PMS, premenstrual syndrome, or even worse, right? It's really something that can be debilitating for some women. It can even be that, doctors either prescribe you antidepressants, or they put you on any anti-conception, so that the hormones stay a little bit more stable. And that's most of the time the only remedy that we have. But what I found very interesting is to know that you can also eat for your cycle, right? You may have.
Yeah, what is that? How does that work? I want to know everything about that, because I've heard a lot about how to do that, but I don't really know how to do that.
So what's most important is that so the first 2 weeks, you're going to have less of an appetite than in the second 2 weeks. That is, again, also because of the estrogen rising, especially with the boost of the testosterone being right in the middle, you're going to have less of an appetite. Honor that. It's also about honoring, because you know that in the second half, you're going to have more of an appetite. That's pretty normal. Why? Because your body is also emptying something, right? So when you look at the body becoming a bit reactive, it has something in it right before you're going to get your period that it wants to get rid of, right? It's got the uterine lining, and it goes, I want to get rid of this stuff. I want to get rid of this dead material that I'm not going to use. So please let me have my period. But this can also make that the body is starting to get a bit inflamed, right? Because it wants to push something out. So it gets that energy of wanting to push, wanting to get stuff out of there. And what is really beautiful about that is that we can honor it by knowing that then we're in high pitta, we're in high fire. So then we got to cool the system down a bit, right? We got to cool it down. So that means just a little bit less alcohol, right? It's just a little bit less sugar. It doesn't mean you can't have sugar at all. It means just find yourself something that is also more of soothing. Say you really want to crave 16,000 chocolate mousses, make a chocolate mousse with freaking avocado in it. That stuff's just as good. And to really, in the third week, get your omega-3s in. Because what happens is those are your building blocks for instance, your serotonin, which is a bit lower. So you want to get your omega-3s in, especially your vitamin Bs are key, because those again are building blocks for the hormones that you need to make. And one thing that I can really recommend for women And I'll do a guide on this one as well. So then I'll
Yes,
make a guide
please.
for women as well, because I think it's really good to have an overview of some of the supplements that you can take and some of the things you
And
can do
each week, yeah, and just what
each
like
week.
really what to
Yeah,
eat, because that's
yeah.
probably the hardest part. Like, so you just like go through cravings and like listen to your body, but I think it would be so helpful. Like I've learned, I do acupuncture really recently, and
Mm-hmm.
this beautiful lady, she told me, she said, so when you have your period, don't eat anything that is, for example, don't eat like ice cold water, don't eat
Yeah,
anything spicy, don't eat anything lime, like just eat like very neutral food because your body like needs that. And don't
yeah.
like, I don't know, and it's so interesting if you do it. Like, so I've done that like last month and it helped so much. I saw like a huge differences because you're like just more in chill, like just feel less pain and everything. I don't know if that
Yeah.
has to do with it, but
Well, at least you're being able to take better care of yourself, right? That's
yeah.
why when we talk about things like self-care, it's like it's not
Hmm.
just a glass of wine in the hot tub. It's not. This is radical self-care. This means I understand my body where it is at. I know what to do when it needs it. I can, actually I can I can tend to my body. So it's saying, "Hey, I'm in my second week. How about we have a party?" And you go, "Yeah, how about we have a party?" And you go to your soul cycle classes and you go running and you do all these things. And then, 1.5 weeks later, hell no, you're not going to be on that bike. You're going to have a relaxed yin yoga class because you're like,
Yeah.
my body needs this and I'm tending to my body. And if it has a craving for chocolate, screw it, just have chocolate. Make sure that you get enough proteins in because it will lower the cravings. Make sure you get enough vitamin B and it will lower the cravings. And there's one really, really nice herb. It's called chasteberry, also known as monix paper or Vitex agnus castus. I'll write it down for you.
Yeah.
Um, that has really shown great results for women with PMS. And the women who come into my office who suffer from this, I always prescribe them this because it really works for them. And then there's an Ayurvedic thing called Shatavari, which is also very good, especially for menopause. But we won't get into that too much. It's just very
Yeah.
interesting to know that you can really make sure that you tend to your body, and that's obviously the most important thing,
Yeah.
right? To capitalize on having an estrogen peak and to know that we are women and that we cycle with the moon, right? I mean, we know that the moon has a cycle. We
Yeah.
cycle with the moon just as much, right? We are the moon, we're the yin, we're all that jazz.
How does it work? How does it work when it's full moon? Like I know whenever I feel like I don't really have like bad mood swings when I have my period, but I have bad mood swings when it's full moon. Like I know I'm on fire. Like I can have this crazy, like I'm like, oh gosh, it's full moon. And my grandma said it once. She said like once, like, oh, when it's full moon, women are more like like more, there's more fire, female. And then ever she says it, I don't know how if I manifest it, but whenever it's full moon, I'm like going nuts with myself.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, you can really say that when it's full moon, you're going towards your full menses, right? I mean, look at this. This is the same thing, right? You're
Yeah,
going towards the fullness of it, and you're
makes
going to the
sense.
fullness, and you may not have the full moon being the full uterus, being the full, and then again it goes away, right? It's waxing
Yeah,
and waning. So it makes total sense that you get more of these
crazy.
crazy things around the moon. And I mean, it's what many women are starting to feel again. Thank God, right? It makes us go back to our nature. It's
Yeah,
not something that we as doctors have been told, but I mean, read a book or two and you'll figure it out.
yeah,
Uh, but I think it's so important to also know that there are great books right now about the risks of being on the pill, for
yeah,
instance, because there's a lot of shit coming from that.
yeah. I noticed when I stopped with I've been on a pill for like I don't know for since I was 16 till the age of like 22 or 23. And I remember, no, I think it was 22. And I remember when it stopped, I felt a completely different person. Just your whole body, and of course like some girls need it for their skin or for their body, but I like literally I think like whatever, I don't know, anti-conception has of course a lot of good things, but it's also, your hormone system, and it's something in your body that is not from you that's kind of bothering me. So I just when I was 23, I was like, I don't want to have anything to do with that. But I don't know, for everyone it's different.
Everyone's different, but I think it's really good to honor the body in this way, right?
Yeah.
And
Someone
the
is saying,
question,
did the pill help your skin at all? Or I'm not on the pill. I don't know. Like for me, the pill has like nothing to do with the skin. But for some
but
girls,
then,
they have acne, right?
yes, yeah, when you have acne, especially during your puberty obviously being the period where your hormones are completely out of whack,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's just what it is, right? It's high fire, it's high pitta, because you're
Yeah.
transitioning, you're changing, and everything is transforming, and your body is growing, and all of a sudden you've got breasts that you didn't have before. You're like, and your mind is like this. You hate your parents. Well, don't need to tell anybody anything. It's really how it goes. So then, obviously, right, the body has got so much fire in it. It's got so much stuff it wants to express. What's good for early menopause is shatavari. I'll write it down on the. That's really
What is
good.
that? What is a menopause? I've never heard about that. Maybe it's English.
Menopause is the period where a woman goes into the when she stops having her period. That's menopause.
Okay.
She doesn't no longer has her period. This can start around the age of 40, 45. You can get premenopause, early menopause, and then around the age of 50, 55, you'll have no period
Interesting.
anymore because you have no eggs left.
Yeah.
And there are no more eggs that are going to come out, and that's just what it is, right?
Yeah.
So then, I mean, you can do a lot with nutrition for your skin. Ultimately, the gut and the skin are connected, right?
A
That is,
huge, I've seen huge, especially meat. I don't know for some people, but I notice when you have spots here,
that's your
meat,
gut.
yeah,
This part is related to your gut. Yeah.
yeah, meat for me, like meat and dairy, like literally life hack. If you don't touch that anymore, you don't. If I touch meat, I know in a few more days I have a pimple.
Yeah.
But
Interesting, right? So,
yeah, it's so crazy. And I have another question. So what
yeah.
about, because I saw earlier this question about tampons or like anything related to what to use when you have your period. But like of course you hear like those horror stories about tampons. Um, could you give any feedback on like what is from your expertise, what would you recommend? And like, I don't know, for young girls maybe.
So I think that when it comes to using tampons, um, there obviously is a lot to do about the fact that there are tampons made with a lot of chemicals in it. And that I'm not going to say that you're going to die because you have a tampon that has chemicals in it. That's stuff you'll never hear me say. The only thing is very important. I mean, you can die of having a tampon in your body for too long. That is something you can really die of, by the way, because you can get a freaking sepsis when you don't take that thing out on time. So um, women need to take that stuff out, but they know it. So let's go into birth control alternatives for a second before I get into that. I think when it comes to using tampons, try to use organic ones. That's all. That's the first thing. You don't need super special ones in yada yada. And make sure that you. Sometimes it can be nice to use those cups because you can actually see the blood. Not that you may
Yeah,
want some go like, fuck no. But
I'm
for
not the
others, it can
person.
be
I
nice
know a
because
lot
you
of
can. Yeah.
I know a lot of girls use that.
Yeah. So then there's a question about birth control, which I think we should get into for a second,
Yeah.
because I mean that's very important, especially when you're not on the pill. How do you do that, Claire?
Um,
Oh, sorry.
there's this
No,
there's
I
this
just don't have sex at all.
hell no, I love sex. Could never. But no, so but I also done it with my ex-boyfriend. Like, just, I don't know how, there's this phrase in Dutch that, before
No, you're not
thing.
doing that. No,
Yeah,
Claire. Oh my God.
I am the worst.
Oh, geez.
I've done it since
I've done it since I was like 20, 21 or 22.
Oh, terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think
Okay,
my body isn't fight flight
so
mode anyway, so
I'm gonna say something sensible about this. It's like, please don't try this at home. But it's really true.
yeah, I know a lot of girls get pregnant. Like,
Yeah,
I I know
yeah,
recently even. But I think, yeah, I think I've been lucky with that. But I must say, I
yes.
always check on my ovulation.
No, no, Claire, come on. Yeah,
Okay,
actually, there's nothing.
let's
Okay,
forget
yeah,
about my example. My example is just
yeah,
really, really bad.
yeah. You're a great inspiration to so many. You really are. So, what's another way to do it? Is to really track your cycle
Yeah, 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 with the Flow app.
with either a flow app, or there's another
Yeah,
one called
yeah, yeah, I
natural
do that.
cycle.
Yeah.
Natural cycle is also really good, and you use your temperature. Um, um, and yeah. Oh, if you let's go birth control for a second, and if your pill can influence your mental health, yes, it can. Um, so then, birth control ways to do it is the thermometer, exactly the thermometer method. It is when
Well,
you know.
I know also people that got pregnant with that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not saying that you should then have normal sex or whatever, but at least, in those, at least in the window of 3 days, use a
Yeah,
freaking condom, okay? It's
yeah,
just 3 days, at least three,
yeah,
maybe it's a week, but you mean you'll live, really. That's really how. Or another way, if you do want to have anti-conception, but you don't want to be on hormones, you can use a copper spiral, right? You've
yeah,
got the Mirena, which is hormones, and then there's the copper one, which doesn't have hormones. So that is a very good alternative. The only thing that you're risking is that you get heavier periods, and that is the only thing. But other than
yeah.
that, the copper spiral is a good one. So I would recommend either saying, okay, I'm going to go on natural cycle, tracking my period, and then being able to see when it is that you use a freaking condom, Claro, or that when you are, or that you use a copper spiral if you want to get rid of it. And if you've been on the pill and you feel that there may be, a time where you want to transition and you are okay with hormones, but you don't want to be on the pill anymore because it's a freaking heavy load of hormones and nobody should want to use that in the first place, you can choose a Mirena, which is about 100th of the amount of hormones in it. So
I
then
know great stories about that.
you can transition to that. And then there's also um, there is indeed a story about having heavy metal in your body, I know. And at a certain point, you're like, okay, so what feels good for my body? What resonates with me, right? There are many women who go well in Mirena. There are many women who go well on the copper spiral. There are others who, are just preferring to have nothing in their bodies, which is a very normal thing to do. And I think is obviously the best. It still is the best. But then at least find healthy, sane, safe ways to practice safe sex with Karen. Anyway, so when it comes to the pill can definitely influence your mental health, 100%. There are even links between depression and being on the pill. So yeah,
Yeah.
be mindful of that. Be aware of that. Be
I
aware
think
of the fact that not all.
yeah, I think most of my friends are on a spiral. I think that's perfect.
I use, yeah.
Yeah, I think most of them. I think, and it's great. I just like not for everybody, but it
No, it's
depends. Same
definitely
with the pill. I know so many friends are on the pill and they love it. They have no problems with that. And then there's also this other thing, that they put it. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
They put it like in your arms. My friend had it.
Yeah, and obviously there are, there's the NuvaRing, all these things, but they're all still hormones, right? And what I really would love for women is to be able to find their own cycle and to start cycling with their cycle, because it makes you way more in tune with your body. It
Oh,
makes you
interesting.
very much more aware of the different cycles that you're going through. Because, for instance, when you have a Mirena, you don't get a period at all. You can just keep going. And then when are you going to stop, right?
That's so
So
interesting.
we got to honor the body a little bit. And I don't necessarily know what somebody's asking is the patch, but I have no experience with that, so I'm going to have to owe you that answer. But to really honor the body and to really say, okay, this is my body, this is what it likes, and just to try things, because everybody
Yeah.
again is different, really. And the arm thing, what somebody's asking, is a very small little, little, what's it called? A little bar, little
Yeah.
staafje, little
Yeah.
thingy that goes between your two muscles here, between your bi and your triceps, and that's where they place it, and it gives off hormones into the bloodstream, and that's how that anti-conception works. So
What do you
there's
eat? Like what do you like? How do I see your menu like during the period, like during your period?
Well, for me, it always starts, obviously, when I think of periods, it starts with the first day of menstruation. That's how we doctors are trained to think about menstruation and cycles. It starts with the first day of your menstruation because that's the day you always know. You know when you get your
Yeah.
period, right? And when you get your period, that's the first day. Then, like I said, the veil's lifting. And I try to eat as light as possible because I know that, the body, it wants to be just like bland things. Again, like you say, not too spicy, not too heavy, not too crazy. But also it's shedding something, right? It's getting rid of stuff. So you want to cleanse it. You really want to be able to cleanse it more and more. Drink a shit ton of water. Make sure that you get your veg in and all these things. But also sometimes what I feel is that when I'm having my period, I want to have more of warmth. You want to sort of like snug, and you want
Yeah.
more of the fatty things, and find the healthy fats. That's all there is to it. And then in the second half, you're gonna go. And if you feel like having chocolate, fuck it, have chocolate. Nobody's gonna kill you for it. It's really not a problem. I think it's most important just honor it. And then from that point, then you got to go on and think, okay, so now I'm just going like like raising up again. Okay, so the body's like, yeah, and we're getting into that movement again. So then you want to give it more energy wise food. So you want to choose your complex carbs, which are obviously your good rice, your
Yeah.
again lots of veg. You want to get maybe some of your legumes in and all that stuff. And then when you've had your little peak, then you're gonna go down again after your peak. And then you gotta just add up on fatty fish, omega-3s. Really make sure that you supplement the body with enough protein.
Second week, the first.
Yeah.
That's the second, the first week or the second,
Third,
third week. Okay.
yeah, third.
Did,
Because
and
you're gonna
and and can you explain why? Because I was talking with my friend the other day about it. That 2 weeks before our period, I feel like the end of the road. I feel like super like low in energy. I just want to lay in bed. Like, what is that? Like, how does that actually work?
Well, like I said, you got this peak, right? Everything is going up. You get your period, and when you just had your period, the estrogen is going up again in the peak.
Yeah.
And then you've had your peak on your ovulation, because you're ovulating, you're feeling absolutely amazing. And then after the peak, the body goes, bye.
Yeah.
I've given my peak. I've given it my all. I've done my best. I've got you shining, and then after the peak, it goes down. And that's why you feel like absolute crap sometimes right after you've had your ovulation.
Do you believe in hormone supplements? Like the ones, like there are so many hormone supplements. Do you believe in that?
Which, for instance, really?
The one from Nuke and Co. I used that like recently more often, and I like them, but I don't really see like huge differences. Like I use so much, I can't really particularly say what's working, but I love them a lot.
Well, I mean, there's because when you say hormone supplements, my mind goes, you take the supplements and you take the hormones that you're lacking, but that's not what you mean.
No,
You mean the ones that, for instance, have the chestberry and you have the B vitamins and
exactly.
yeah, absolutely, 100%, absolutely. Yes, I think we should support the body wherever possible, and if you can't get it out of the food, then at least know that you need something else.
Yeah, because
So
those
yeah.
one help me so much. And I don't know if that has to do with hormone system, but like vitamin D,
Very
as
much.
in
Yeah.
yeah, interesting. Could
And
you maybe
also,
make a guide like what we have to take,
yeah,
like,
I'll make it good. Yeah.
and like also
Yeah, tell me.
which supplement, like which brands, because often I notice that so many like supplement brands are full of shit, and you don't want that in your supplements. Yeah, that
Yeah,
would be amazing.
absolutely. I'll do that, sweetie. 100%. We're almost on time.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I'm definitely gonna keep on my cycle for the next one. So I'm curious if that's gonna, how that's gonna
How that's
like be.
gonna go.
Yeah, I think like being conscious of that is so interesting. To also like know what your body needs and to be like your own like best friend and like listen to more, like get to know the body but better and better.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's all we really need to do
Yeah,
to honor it. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Thank you so much for your time, Louisa, and enjoy your holiday. And we'll
Thank
see you
you.
next. And we'll see you next week.
Definitely. See you next week. All right. Bye,
Bye
sweetie.
bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.